Good evening to all of you. I hope now it's properly audible. Okay. So there was little delay. So there were some technical issues, but we have made it now. So let's start the session. And yes, till now, you may have seen what various insightful sessions on the YouTube. So now let us ultimately do it our way. So we have done classes. There are certain batches which have done classes with me. There are certain batches which are doing classes with me. And there are certain which are going to join my classes, the basic classes. But do not worry, whatever level of status of your preparation is, let us do the essay paper in a very, very simplified manner. So now, first of all, when we were talking about the essays, so there was surprise for all of you that there were 8 philosophical topics. And that has created what anxiety, fear, and every possible thing, palpitation, sweating, everything. And the students ultimately were having a huge doubt what they will do next time when the same thing happens. But see, this is not actually a surprise. UPSC was preparing for the philosophical essays for last 4-5 years, raising the temperature on what year-to-year basis. So in 15-16, there were 1 or 2 philosophical essays. 18 and 19, there were 4 philosophical essays and 4 general topics. Last year in 2020, there were 5 philosophical essays, and this is supposed to happen, all 8 philosophical essays. So UPSC was preparing you to handle philosophical topics. Maybe the trend may not continue next year, but still the philosophical topics will be having major chunk in the paper. At least 4 will be there. That is a balance pattern. That is a balance pattern. So first of all, this was not a surprise. UPSC is preparing you. And if you attended my classes, I give you enormous content, the values-based content, which can easily be applied in various philosophical essays. Today we will do how we'll apply those content in our topics. Yes. Then further, I hope my voice is I'm audible now. Yes. So why still someone is writing that I'm not audible? Okay, check your device if I'm not audible to you. So secondly, certain students may be thinking that students from certain backgrounds or certain options may be getting the benefit, maybe philosophy, maybe sociology, maybe psychology, maybe political science. Again, the answer is no. Yes, UPSC provides equal opportunities to all. Now, when we handle the philosophical topics in the manner that is called more applied manner, more observational manner, it provides level playing field to all the students. Now, let us see a bigger picture. The philosophical topics are basically the observations given by various thinkers and various people working in the society. Now, these observations come to their mind when they observe the society. So hence comes a quote, hence comes an idiom. Now, when this is being given as a topic, as you are going to become the manager of society, you are aspiring civil servant, you can also have similar observations. So that means when the topic is given to you, so apply that with respect to its application in the current context in the society. So what is the knowledge area that is required to answer philosophical essays? No specific preparation is required. Whatever you are doing in basic subjects, whatever teachers have given you, whatever notes that you have, whatever the content that I have given in the classes, and what is the current affairs, the newspaper, the focus, and the DNS, all these in combination are more than enough to write even philosophical essays. So in that regard, we'll be doing today's essay topics with respect to most applied manner so that you get enough confidence that the content that is there with you can easily be applied. So on that basis, let's start the class, and I'm going to share the slides. Okay. So let's start the class formally. So I'm going to start with a topic which can easily be connected by you. And the topic is, let's read together, it's philosophy of worklessness is utopian, while materialism is a chimera. So this is a topic. Let us first of all analyze the topic in a very simple manner. So philosophy of wantlessness. So let us first of all decode the certain keywords. Wantlessness means having no wants. Now, when you talk about having no wants, it's very difficult to achieve. That's why it is almost utopian or idealistic. See, for having no wants is very difficult because everybody have got certain wants. And the basic wants are food, clothing, and shelter. So food, clothing, and shelter are the basic wants for most of us. So that means having no wants is completely what expecting for something for the moon. That is too idealistic in nature. It is not possible at all. But when we talk about the other part of this topic, while materialism is a chimera, materialism is consumerism, okay, desire for having more and more, big, better, best, expensive, more expensive, and that getting more and more is basically a chimera, or it can be termed as illusion. So there is no satisfaction, yes, because there's always a desire for having more and more. So again, when we see this topic as a whole, yes, so first part is not achievable, but the second part definitely we have to deal that there should not be excessive materialism, because excessive materialism, desire for more, always creates an illusion for more. So hence it creates more problems. And the problems are, so materialism leads to what? Unhealthy desires, depletion of resources. The problem that we are facing now is environment degradation. So hence this topic is talking about how to create a middle path so as to achieve what? Sustainable development. Again, desire for more and more produces more greed in the society, and greed leads to unhealthy means, corruption, more crime, and that again leads to what? Decline in values. So this topic is talking about how to balance our approach, how to balance our living so that it becomes sustainable with respect to what? Environment and ecology, and also preventing more and more greed from the society so that the values are better. So this is a general overview of the topic. So let us see the introduction part. So I'm going to now deal the topic by breaking this into two parts. So please note down, philosophy of wantlessness is utopian. Let us decode this in very simple words. Let us decode this. So we came to know, see, wantlessness can be possible for what? Bhakti and Sufi reformers. So those people who can give up their wants, they can ultimately give the materialistic world and can live a very saintly life. For them, it can be a possibility, not for a general public like us. So let us see this. So please note down, shunning wants means or giving up of wants, and adopting renunciation is too much to ask, from common people. Is too much to ask from common people. Is too much to ask from common people. Why? Because people have needs and wants. All of us have got needs and wants. And the basic needs that we are reading since from childhood are food, clothing, and shelter. Food, clothing, and shelter. Food, clothing, and shelter. For this, now to get food, clothing, and shelter, person has to work, earn. This gives rise to transactions. This gives rise to basic economy. Yes. So for this, the person has to earn. For this, the person has to earn. Gives rise to production, transactions, economy, and various forms of growth and development. And various forms of growth and development. Okay, so we are decoding the first part of the topic. That is, wantlessness is utopian, is too idealistic, because all of us has got basic needs. The first basic needs are food, clothing, and shelter. For that, the people have to do certain activities. They have to earn, leads to transaction, development of basic economy, and growth and development. This has to happen. Yes, we cannot prevent this. But on the other side, while materialism is a chimera or the illusion, now when this need and wants, yes. Now when wants become unsustainable, yes. But when wants become unsustainable, then they get converted into, greedy pursuit of materialism. Greedy pursuit of materialism. That is bigger, better. That is bigger, better. That is bigger, better. Yes, Surbi, you can mention Maslow's need hierarchy. Yes, you can mention. You can also mention Maslow's need hierarchy. That is the basic requirement of all of us. So when wants become unsustainable, then they get converted into greedy pursuit of materialism, bigger, better, expensive, and desire for more and more. And then it becomes illusion or chimera. Yes. Then it becomes illusion or chimera, because this desire is unending. Because this desire is unending. So this now becomes unsustainable, and this desire is unending now. So what does this leads to? This leads to greed, voracious consumption, unending exploitation of limited resources, unending exploitation of limited resources, and leading to problems both for humanity and ecology. Both for humanity and ecology. Humanity means society at large, ecology, the entire what? Planet Earth we are talking about. So it's now going to create what? Problem both for the humanity, the society at large, and the entire ecology, that is planet Earth. So now let us elaborate what type of problems that can be there, or the problems that we are facing that we have to deal with. So let us see the problems one by one. So first of all, so explain the challenges faced by current system of overconsumption or excessive materialism. Now you have to explain in detail. So explain the challenges faced by the current system of over consumerism and excessive materialism. So the problems, so here you have to explain the impact on ecological stability due to overconsumerism, excessive materialism. What is the impact on what? Ecological stability. Mansi, we can also give certain headings also to make the topic what? Interactive in nature. We can put such headings. Okay. So first, impact on ecological stability. So here you are going to use your knowledge of environment and ecology, the current affairs, the issue of what? Global warming, climate change, depletion of resources, okay, deforestation, or extinction of species. So you can mention every possible thing that you can mention due to what? Over greed and over exploitation. So you can properly plan this as per your knowledge. This is the first part. Yes, the first part of impact. Now the second part is on what? Society. So note down, second impact is on what? Society at large. Now what happens usually, say, when there's a illusion to get more and more. So many times people opt for unhealthy means. There's a start of what? More corruption. Yes. There's start of more frauds. Yes. Or and then finally it leads to what? What? Snatching of the resources from the needy. It leads to what? More inequality in the society. So there are what decline in values. So there are enormous impact on the society as a whole. So let us see the common impact of excessive greed and excessive materialism. So illusionary pursuit of more leads to deviations. Illusionary pursuit of more leads to deviations. Leads to deviations. Adoption of wrong and corrupt practices. Adoption of wrong and corrupt practices. Rise in frauds and crimes. Rise in frauds and crimes. General decline in ethics. So general decline in ethics. Deprives many people of basic needs because the resources resources which are there for large number of people will be snatched by few. So it will lead to what? More deprivation and creates more inequality and poverty. And creates more inequality and poverty. So again, let us connect with the topic itself. The topic is saying that having no wants is too idealistic in nature. But on the other side, we are moving towards more excessive desires. That is actually what? Very illusional in nature. Excessive desires, excessive materialism leads to what? Maybe what? Destruction of the planet itself. And on the other side, destruction of society, because society, there's a huge inequalities, deviations, crimes, and decline in morals and ethics. So we have to what? Improve both of these things. Yes. So let us see. Yes, this is the result of unhealthy pursuit. So what can be the possible solutions? Yes. So what can be the possible solutions? Now there's a quote. Yes, a very very common quote. Yes, but very what meaningful quote, which you all may be knowing. And the quote is, the world has enough for everyone's needs, but not for everyone's greed. Yes. So if there's a suitable quote, definitely we have to quote. So the world has enough for everyone's needs, but not for everyone's greed. It's by Mahatma Gandhi. So that means we have to find a balanced approach. Yes, we have to find a balanced approach. So when we see this quote as a whole, it is impacting towards both. Yes, sustainable means of living also, and also how to what control greed in the society. It is talking about both. Yes, the people's approach, and finally the approach with respect to what? Desire for wants and needs. Yes, that has to be balanced. Again, you know that there is Buddha's middle path, and middle path talks about avoidance of two extremes of practical life. Two extremes. One is too much austerity, and one is too much lavishness. So means prevention of both the extremes. So that is extreme indulgence on one side and severe asceticism on the other, or too much austerity on the other. Yes. Again, it is talking about finding a middle path. So finally, what we have to adopt in terms of middle path is adoption of SDGs, Sustainable Development Goals. So we have to adopt what? Sustainable Development Goals, SDGs. Sustainable Development Goals. Now, these will be creating solutions for us. So for the solutions, we have highlighted a quote. We have highlighted what is Buddha's middle part, that is avoiding both the extremes. And both the quote and the middle part is talking about a balanced approach. And the balanced approach has already been defined in the Sustainable Development Goals. So we have to design two solutions here. First solution is how to create what? I guess sustainable development by taking care of the ecology. And on the other side, to maintain that sustainability, we have to evolve the people also. That means we have to upgrade the understanding, awareness, values in the society also. So let us move towards these solutions. So answer is green economy, sustainable development and economic justice. So answer is green economy, sustainable development and economic justice. And economic justice. So here you have to mention about what? Mention global, national, collective and individual efforts. So again, your current affairs comes into picture. So global, starting with what? Paris Climate Agreement, COP21 and subsequent COPs. Responsibilities given to nation, actions taken by nations, what the people as a community can do, what individuals can do. Yes, what individuals can do. Yes, yes, Sandeep, you have to connect from what? Yes, the first global action which is talking about responsibilities starting with what? COP21, Paris Climate Agreement and subsequent COPs. So again, your current affairs knowledge comes into picture. Now next, mention about, yes, achieving net zero. And for that, we have to change the production methods, the way of doing things. So various changes are required. So from where to start? Greening of methods of production. Yes. So greening of methods of production. For example, organic and sustainable methods of farming. Adoption of more and more renewable energy. Faster phasing out of fossil fuels, plastic. So you have to talk about every possible solution that we can come up with to create more sustainable way of living in harmony with the entire existence. So mention global actions, national actions taken by individual countries, especially our country, collective actions which can be taken at community level, individual efforts, then steps towards achieving net zero. Now for achieving net zero, what are the changes required right from the production methods? Now minimalism, this is a new thing that is becoming popular. Minimalism is reducing unnecessary wants. So minimalist approach means reducing unnecessary wants. So go through all these concepts: minimalism, zero waste movement. And zero waste movement here starts with what? Your 3 R's: reduce, reuse, recycle. And even you can add 4th R, that is refuse. That can be 4th R. So reduce, reuse, and recycle is always there, but also refuse also means refusing taking plastics. So refuse. Then need for circle economy. A circle economy which leads to more recycling. So circle economy, what has been produced, finally moving towards more recycling to be used again. Yes, that is circle economy. Now there's a tiny house movement. Yes. So that is also picking up in countries. Yes, various countries. Definitely, first is Singapore. We talk about Japan is there, tiny house movement. Europe, even US is moving towards now tiny house movement. Yes. So shunning the big things. Web up, the meaning of minimalism is reducing unnecessary wants rather than what falling prey to the marketing gimmicks to buy more and more. So confining your desires within limited foundations. So living with what minimum means, but definitely in a standard way. Yes, that does not mean that you are going to suffocate yourself. But here, the purpose is not to go for what excessive buying, excessive purchases. Yes, just on the basis of what marketing influence, or maybe due to peer pressure of your group, which may be having what more money, more power, more influence, and more products. Yes, so reducing your wants is minimalism. Now next is vegan movement. Yes, vegan movement. So gradual movement towards what more vegetarianism. We all know that when we talk about the meat production industry, so especially when you talk about rearing of cattle, rearing of what may be animals, so they require what pastures. So they clear forests. Clearance of forests lead to what adding of the CO2 in the atmosphere is what adding to more global warming. So it is also harmful for the environment and ecology. So naturally, gradual movements towards what more vegetarianism or the vegan movement. Large scale afforestation. Again, this has been agreed in what COP26. So large scale afforestation, ecological conservation. Lalsa tiny house movement means avoiding buying bigger houses, moving what buying what smaller houses. That's called tiny house movement. Tiny house means less than 1000 square feet of space. That has been picking up in what various countries. So people are shunning buying what bigger and bigger houses and bigger accommodations. Okay, that is called tiny house movement. So I'm just giving you all these hints. You are going to search on them. I'm just giving you a connection. So large scale afforestation, ecological conservation, acknowledging role of indigenous people in safeguarding the environment. All these are the actions required to create most sustainable way of living, and hence reducing the desires for more and more, which can be unhealthy for the environment and ecology, and also in terms of greed of humanity. Now, on the other side, how to build up values and ethics, yes, so that the people themselves understand the power, the meaning of conservation. The people themselves understand how to avoid greed. So we have to upgrade the thinking level, awareness level of the people. And for this comes into picture, yes, and for this comes into picture this quote that I gave you when I taught you education in class. And what was this? This is by Rabindranath Tagore. The highest education is that, the highest education is that which give us information, which give us information, which does not merely give us information. The highest education is that which does not merely give us information, but makes our life, in harmony in harmony with all existence. In harmony with all existence. So on what basis we have to build the understanding awareness of the people so that we are able to live in harmony with all the existence. And existence for us is, I told you, existence for us is fellow human beings, fauna, flora, immediate environment, and in short, planet Earth. In short, planet Earth. So that means we have to nurture people in terms of what? That they are able to balance their way of existence with the entire existence. So they are not pursuing unhealthy greed. They're not exploiting too much of what? Fauna, flora, even what fellow human beings, and definitely conserving more and more environment in planet Earth. And now, this way of education can definitely be imparted in the schools and colleges. But what about the people at large? I told you that there should be a method of what connecting with each and every person in the society in terms of what bringing awareness. And for that, I taught you certain methods of what, how to what extend education as a lifelong learning. So instructions ends in school, but education ends with life. And here I taught you IEC methods, information, education, communication methods. That means transferring the messages to all the people irrespective of their location, age, and educational qualification. How to connect with the people. How to connect with the people. Now, again, let's see a brief summary of the topic. The topic is talking about simply sustainable development. The topic is simply talking about sustainable development also reduces greed in the society. So how to ultimately what achieve that status of sustainable development and reducing greed. But before that, we have to talk about what are the negatives that we are generating for us, for the ecology as well as the society. So we have listed down the negatives that we are facing as a whole. So we require what? Again, actions. Actions, first of all, with respect to sustainable development, starting from global actions to individual actions, and bringing what innovative ideas and methods that I've just hinted in terms of points, which you are going to what explore more. And secondly, how to what bring awareness to the people, first of all, within the educational system, so as to what create education in a manner so that the children start learning the way of what harmonizing their existence with the entire existence. But it's not only about children in the schools and colleges, it's also about society at large. We should be requiring a system where we can connect with what larger chunk of people in society so that all contribute. And that contribution will only be happening when we bring awareness. And for awareness, I taught you 16 methods of information, education, and communication. I hope if you remember, yes. Okay. So this is the way you are going to answer this essay topic. I hope very clear. Okay. So this was topic. Yes. Now see, when I'm now giving you what maybe the ideas to answer the topics, you're supposed to draft them. Yes. You're supposed to draft them into full essays and try to email it. Yes. Or send it to or post in the what your e-learn account also. So hence, so that we are able to check what you are actually doing on by getting information from our side. Are you able to utilize information? Are you able to utilize your knowledge and even the classes that you had? So let us now move towards the next topic. So please note down your perception of me, your perception of me your perception of me is a reflection of you. I will be sharing my email ID. Yes, do not worry. I will sharing my email ID again with all of you. So your perception of me is a reflection of you. Semicolon, my my reaction to you is an awareness of me. My reaction to you is an awareness of me. Your perception of me is a reflection of you, and my reaction to you is an awareness of me. So here the two keywords are, here the first is perception, second is reaction. Now, as we are human beings, we live in a society. Definitely we have what? Perceptions about each other. So the perceptions can be what? Rational or irrational. Yes. Now, irrational perceptions about others may be on the basis of discriminatory approach. When I talk about the reaction, so we also react. Yes, when the people ultimately treat us, we also react. So society is filled with what? Both perceptions and reactions. So perceptions can be decoded into two parts: rational perception, irrational. Similarly, reactions can also be mature or immature. Okay, so the how we respond shows my awareness towards you, and how you treat me shows your awareness about me and your thinking about me. Yes. So here, let us decode the topic. So society. So if the perceptions are irrational, so that means what we have to do? We have to change perceptions. We have to improve perceptions by bringing more understanding and maturity in the minds of the people. And similarly, if the reactions are too reactionary, yes, on the negative side, we have to improve the responses. So overall, we have to bring behavior modification in the society. So this topic is basically about behavior modification. This topic is simply about behavior modification. Now, let us decode the topic in a little more detail. So again, give a heading. Your perception of me is a reflection of you. Let us decode. So the first thing that we have to do with any essay topic is we have to decode the meaning of the topic in simple words or in simple lines. So your perception of me is a reflection of you. So what does this symbolize? Outlook towards others. This symbolizes outlook towards others. Outlook towards others. Now, there can be judgmental outlook, which is mostly irrational, yes, where we perceive the people just on the basis of their identities. Judgmental outlook. So judgmental outlook can be found in our society also. That is common discriminations in outlook that we commonly witness in our society. So common discriminations in outlook on the basis of caste, class, religion, gender, race, region or language, disabilities, etc. Disabilities, etc. So, this judgmental outlook shows what? Irrational outlook, yes. Because it is filled with what? Various discrimination, which is mostly irrational in nature, which is not logical in nature. Now let us take the example of a country. Now, for example, there was a system of apartheid in South Africa. Yes. Apartheid in South Africa, the whites versus the rest. The whites versus the rest. Yes, because prima facie. Yes. So apartheid, whites versus the rest. So subjugation of natives, all the migrants, but supremacy only to the white race. Now, even today, when you see the entire world, there is a tendency of creating perceptions against others. So we are living in what? Hashtag world. Yes. So we hashtag a community, we hashtag a set of people with what? A particular name, which is mostly derogatory in nature. Yes. So we create perceptions, and this is happening across the world. So current context, also mention current context. So perceptions are regularly created. Perceptions are regularly created by branding or wrongly presenting. By branding or wrongly presenting historical personalities also. Historical personalities also. Communities, group of people. Now with hashtagging, it becomes very easy on social media. So current context, perceptions are regularly created by branding or wrongly presenting not only the people who are alive, yes, the people who are historical figures also, presenting historical personalities, communities, group of people. Group of people. Okay. Now, so here we are talking about judgmental outlook where the perception is not right, which is highly discriminatory. Now, my reaction to you, if the perception is not right towards others, so how I should be responding? Yes. How I should be responding. So my reaction to you is an awareness of me. If I am not treated well, if perception of my community is not right, so how I should be responding, or how as a community we should be responding. So my reaction to you is an awareness of me. So again, the reactions can be in a two ways. First, it can be first of all, put a thing, it's a response. It is talking about the response. It can be immature, yes, or maybe mature. How we respond can be showing our immaturity or maturity. So if we reply in the same manner as we are treated, if we reply in the same manner, if we are treated in a discriminatory manner, and if we apply in the same manner, that means in not very positive sense, but negatively, then it becomes what? Then it becomes what? An eye for an eye, yes. And it becomes an eye for an eye, which leave the whole world blind. So that means if the perceptions are not good, perceptions are irrational, usually discriminatory, leading to ill treatment, and if the response is also the same, then finally what happens? It becomes an eye for an eye. That leads to no solutions. And this leads to no solutions. This leads to no solutions. Now, mature. So mature means a sensible reply. Let us see the examples of what mature reply. Let us see the example of mature reply. So we have just seen the example of apartheid in South Africa. So let us take the example of Nelson Mandela. We all know that Nelson Mandela was in prison for 27 years. So when he was released, when the apartheid was diluting, later when he became the president of South Africa, then to bring the blacks and whites together, he supported, yes, he conducted World Cup rugby football. He supported the white rugby team, Springbok. The purpose was to give a message to the people at large that we have to live together. We should not be taking revenge. Yes, we should not be taking revenge. Yes, so that showed the mature response. So Nelson Mandela and his support for Springbok rugby team. Yes. And in the month of December, if you read the newspaper, if you know the current affairs, Desmond Tutu died. Yes, Archbishop Desmond Tutu. So hence, Desmond Tutu and his Truth and Reconciliation Commission. He was the head of what? Truth and Reconciliation Commission, appointed by Mandela himself. And the purpose of this commission was to again do healing work, not taking revenge. Again, bringing both the communities together, the whites and the blacks. So these are the signs of what? Mature response. Let us take the example of India. Let us take the example of India. Yes, Ankur, the name emerged, Rainbow Nation. Now, let's take the example of India. After partition, when Pakistan was created in the name of religion, when there's a huge religious intoxication in Pakistan, so how we responded to Pakistan? In a very mature way. Instead of what talking about religion, we opted for secularism, yes, as our response. So please note down our response. Adoption of secularism was India's mature response. Adoption of secularism was India's mature response to religion intoxicated Pakistan. Yes. To religion intoxicated Pakistan. To religion intoxicated Pakistan. Okay. See, normally the human beings are discriminatory in nature. They have got negative perceptions about various sets of people. Now, but the best way of what dealing with such type of situation is not to treat or respond in the same manner, because that will not be leading to any results. The best way is to win the hearts, and that shows the maturity of response or reply. Yes. So this is the mature version. This is the immature version. So now let us see what are the different forms of mature reply or response. So note down various forms of response. Various forms of response. Various forms of responsible reaction or response. Yes, where the responsibility is shown, maturity is shown. That means we have to deal temper with more logic, that is scientific temper. Yes. We have to deal unreason with reason. So we have to respond temper with scientific temper. We have to respond unreason with reason. So here let us take the example of what? Raja Ram Mohan Roy. Now, when Raja Ram Mohan Roy was trying to bring the issue of sati into forefront and try to deal with that. So how the sati was enforced in the country? Because the people stated that quoted scriptures. Yes, it's basically sati system is there because scriptures say this. So how to counter that? So Raja Ram Mohan Roy studied the scriptures, gone through the Vedas, and ultimately found out that there is nothing in the scriptures and the Vedas which sanctify sati system. So hence means, so the unreason has to fought only with reason. Yes. Has to be fought only with scientific temper, more logic. Next comes to the picture, hate with love and smile. Yes. Distrust with trust. Distrust with trust. Distrust with trust. For example, if a particular area is having insurgency, okay, always the hatred towards each other, distrust towards each other. Yes. So rather than dealing with that with more distrust, more pressure, yes, more force. The best way is, let's suggested, CBMs, confidence building measures. CBMs, confidence building measures. So dealing hate or distress with confidence building measures. Exclusion with inclusion. Yes. So that's why what we talk about. We talk about teamwork. We talk about group work, collective approach, and society moves forward when it has more inclusion rather than exclusion of different sections, communities, or genders. So exclusion to be what fought with more inclusion. Violence with non-violence. And this has been the history of what various anti-colonial movements or rights-based movements. Most of the rights-based movement, whether in civil rights movement in United States or the what Nelson Mandela or MK Gandhi, so they try to fight violence with non-violence. Now, war to be dealt with more track to diplomacy. War to be countered with more track to diplomacy. Yes, means creating what relations, intermingling of people, utilizing various methods of what trade, commerce, sports, tourism, cultural exchanges to what integrate, yes, and creating a scenario what more peace and stability. Fake information with more real fact-based information. So I've showed you the mature form of responses which can be visible, which should be applied. Which should be applied. So now the question is how to upgrade the perceptions in the society and how to improve the reactions in the society. That means we have to improve on working on the behaviors, that is the thinking of the people. And that will be the, so note down how to nurture right perceptions and mature reactions. How to nurture right perceptions and mature reactions. How to nurture right perceptions and mature reactions. First of all, it is a fundamental duty. So please note down, first of all, it is a fundamental duty. Why we have to do this? So fundamental duty talks about to promote harmony and the spirit of common brotherhood. Fundamental duty talks about to promote harmony and the spirit of common brotherhood amongst all the people of India, transcending religious, linguistic, regional, or sectional diversities, and to renounce practices derogatory to the dignity of women. So why we have to improve the perceptions? Because we have to create a society in which harmonization is complete. Yes, in which harmonization is complete, in which harmonization is promoted. And to promote harmonizations, we have to improve perceptions as well as reactions. So to promote harmony and the spirit of common brotherhood amongst the people of India, transcending religious, linguistic, and regional or sectional diversities, and to promote dignity of women. So note down a line below this, note down a line. And this requires improving both perceptions and reactions. And this requires improving both perceptions and reactions. And this requires cognition or awareness. And this requires cognition or awareness. This requires cognition or awareness. And even you can use a quote, yes. Social justice requires cognitive justice. That is, respect for each other requires understanding, yes, more maturity in the minds. So social justice requires cognitive justice. Social justice require cognitive justice. Okay, so Uma is asking about track to diplomacy. Yes, Deepak, scientific temper is directly mentioned in the fundamental duties. You can add on. Good. Okay. Okay, Uma. Yes. So when you will be reading about international relations, if you have not gone through IR, this is simple words. Track 1 diplomacy is between government to government, where the heads of the states are meeting, ministers are meeting, or the secretaries are meeting. That is track 1 diplomacy. Track 1 diplomacy involves people to people contact. Yes. That means two regions or the two countries when they interact through people to people contact. Now, people to people contact can be encouraged on the basis of what? Maybe trade and commerce, maybe tourism, maybe sports, maybe cultural exchange programs. Okay, conducting what maybe what interactions through media, students exchange, faculties exchange. So these are the various ways of promoting what? People to people contact. So people to people contact ultimately brings people closer, reduces various biases, kills hatred, and has the potential to create what? More peace and stability between regions and countries, and can prevent war. Yes, that is called track to diplomacy. Are you very clear, Uma, and others also? Okay, now, so the question is, the question is how to improve the cognitive justice or the cognition of the people. Again, the content is there with you. You have to mention what? IEC ecosystem formula as solution in detail. Yes, IEC ecosystem formula as solution in detail. So those students who have done classes with me, they have got the content for IEC. Those students who are yet to do classes with me, do not worry, you'll getting the complete content for that. Yes, IEC ecosystem formula. How to target any individual irrespective of age, location, and educational qualification for improving the person's awareness, thinking, response, action, every possible thing. I hope the topic is very clear. Yes. Okay. So again, you have to try, yes, answering the topic in detail. Yes. Now let's talk about a topic which is little different. Yes, which is little different, where again, but the content is there with you with respect to you have read what the entire syllabus of UPSC is. So let us see, very interesting topic that is coming to you now is history repeats itself. Yes. Note down, history repeats itself first as a tragedy, and second as a farce. First as a tragedy and second as a farce. So actually this is a quote from Karl Marx. Yes. So history repeats itself first as a tragedy and second as a farce. Okay, put a hashtag also, I will be explaining. Is basically indicating towards learning from our past and utilizing history as teacher. Utilizing history as a teacher. Okay. See, that's why we are working on what? How to decode the meaning of the topic. Now, many times what happens, see, you may be having the content, you may be having the idea how to write various things. If the topics are direct and general, you can write various things. But many times when the things are philosophical, you struggle to decode the meaning of the topic first. Now, that decoding of the meaning of the topic will definitely comes with more practice. And the practice may be, so the best way is what? Filter at least from every area. For example, governance, society, environment, yes, economy, science. So filter at least 8 to 10 quotes for each areas. 8 to 10 quotes for each areas. What you can do is, so for all the areas of your study, that is governance, economy, society, empowerment issues, science, international scenarios, international. So at least filter, yes, 8 to 10 quotes on all of these. 8 to 10 quotes on all of these. And try to decode them and convert them. That will start off your practice. That will start off your practice. And I also, when I am giving lectures in the class, I also connect with what? Various quotes which can directly be connected in the flow of the lectures. So the only way is master at least 50 quotes. Yes. Master at least 50 quotes, which you can use while writing also. And if that is coming as topic, you can easily decode. Yes. Okay. So 50 quotes can be mastered by any student. Yes. That will give you huge confidence to ultimately what? Answer any code which may be different. Yes. Okay. So that comes with practice. Here I'm talking about how to decode and what content to use. I'm giving you the confidence that content is there with you. So you have to develop the art of what? Decoding. So history repeats itself, first as a tragedy and second is a farce. This is a quote by Karl Marx. This is actually a warning. Yes, this is actually a warning that if you are not going to learn from history, then tendency is that the wrongs in the history will be repeated as tragedies. Now see, normally what happens, I gave the example in the class also that history is the most under-taught subject in schools. History is never taught sincerely, rationally, with scientific temper. History is never taught. Yes. When we are not being taught history rationally, so we fail to utilize the meaning from history, because history is filled with various examples, both positive and negative. So if we rationally analyze history, that history can be a guide for us, can be a teacher for us. The teacher in the form of what? The wrongs in the history, if we know them, definitely we will be preventing their repetition in today's society. Hence can be preventing maybe tragedy again. So let us decode the meaning of the topic in detail. First, history repeats itself first as a tragedy. Yes. History repeats itself first as a tragedy. So this is, so the first slide is always a content for your introduction. Yes. Now done, history is a permanent teacher. History is a permanent teacher provided we listen to its message. History is a permanent teacher provided we listen to its message. So it has various messages for us. It has various messages for us. History is a permanent teacher provided we listen to its message. Now, history is replete with lessons or filled with lessons. History is replete with lessons for humanity's progress, and development. So history is filled with lessons from humanity's progress and development. Because past is always a permanent dimension. Because past is always a permanent dimension of human consciousness and values. Human consciousness and values. So history itself is a teacher because it is a guarantor of consciousness to us if we properly analyze it. Because then we'll be knowing what is right and what is wrong, how to prevent the wrongs so that we prevent further tragedies, and how to carry forward the good message in current context. See, most of the current problems can be solved by taking the message from history itself. Okay, so always a permanent dimension, human consciousness and values. History has both negative and positive examples and experiences. History has both negative and positive examples and experiences. Which keep on beckoning regularly. They keep on what? Indicating us, showing us light, yes, which keep on beckoning regularly. If we fail to learn, yes, if we fail to learn from it, if we fail to learn from it, then we tend to repeat it, yes, then we tend to repeat it. Mostly wrongs. So what we repeat? Mostly wrongs to create more tragedies. Mostly wrongs to create more tragedies. More tragedies. So let us see certain examples. Tragedy, for example, wars. So when you read IR, yes, you find out US in Vietnam, USSR in Afghanistan. When USSR exited, then US again in Afghanistan. Story continues, Iraq, Syria, or maybe today Ukraine. Yes. So what we are not doing is we are not learning from mistakes. So US in Vietnam, Vietnam War ended in 1975, but again USSR invasion in Afghanistan 1978. USSR exited 1988, again US in Afghanistan, Iraq, Syria. So wars are repeated, tragedies are repeated. Yes. Now, rise of authoritarianism and totalitarianism in many countries in the world. Yes. Though we had got the example of what Hitler and the fascist regimes. Hitler and fascist regimes. So that means when we are not learning from the past, we tend to repeat. When we are repeating, we are creating more tragedies. We are creating more tragedies. Now next, second as a farce. So second as a farce, first as a tragedy, second as a farce. Farce can be seen as a way of ridiculing something of no use, of no purpose. So many times what I mean, when we are not learning from history, people tend to undermine the meaning from history. Yes, they try to ridicule it. Yes, is useless. So hence, when we fail to learn from history, when we fail to learn, then history is ridiculed. When history is ridiculed, presented as wrong or farce, we try to erase it or rewrite. Yes. When we fail to learn from it, then history is shown as farce or useless, try to erase, rewrite, rewrite. But there's a quote, yes, but there's a quote. We come to terms with history by learning from it. We come to terms with history by learning from it, not by erasing it. Yes, not by erasing it. So we come to terms with history by learning from it, not by erasing it. So again, we have decoded the meaning. Yes, history is a teacher. If we are not learning from history, we create tragedies. And finally, again, if we are not learning, so we are ridiculing the history and try to erase it. But we come to terms with history when we learn from it. But there are certain positive examples. When we learned from history, when we learned from the mistakes, we prevented tragedies. Yes, we prevented tragedies. Let's see the positive examples also. Positive examples where we learned from history the mistakes and we prevented more tragedies. Now, the first learners in India in the post-independent India were the constitution makers or the constitution drafters. So they were knowing that India's history was comprising of what huge inequalities based on what caste, based on gender, based on various disabilities. That is required to be corrected. That should not be carried forward. So that wrong thing in our past should be cured in post-independent India. So hence they drafted the constitution, they drafted the preamble which talks about justice, liberty, equality, fraternity for all the citizens. Okay, so the first learning on the past, let's take the example. Constitution makers were conscious about political, social and economic inequalities. Were conscious about political, social and economic inequalities. Hence, preamble mentions what? Preamble mentions justice, liberty, equality, and fraternity. Hence, preamble mentions justice, liberty, equality, and fraternity. Now further, now when you talk about colonialism, so colonialism ultimately promoted slave trade or slavery. So slavery, so lesson was learned. So finally what happened? Yes, from slavery to UDHR, Universal Declaration of Human Rights. Now to prevent repetition of the same type of subjugation of people through slavery, from there we evolved to, yes, a general consensus of Universal Declaration of Human Rights. Slavery to UDHR. Now let's take the next example. Now from unsustainable practices to SDGs again. So history does not only mean only the kings. History means everything, the administration, the economy, yes, the society, the environment, everything has got a history. So from unsustainable practices, we learn to ultimately move towards to what more sustainable methods, SDGs. And even when we talk about one more example, COVID, yes. In the first COVID waves across the world, various countries mismanaged and bungled, yes. But gradually the world learned, the governments learned, the people learned, and we prevented more tragedies. Now we can handle the COVID with what? Better practices. So another example, COVID mishandling to COVID management. Yes. COVID mishandling to COVID management. Yes, Tanushri, failure of League of Nations to a stable organization, United Nations organizations. Good. Yes. So you keep on adding the ideas. Yes. As you are reading, you keep on adding the ideas. So that means what we found out, that when we learn from history, we try to prevent more tragedies. That means this should be the way of what analyzing history. Yes, this should be the way of analyzing history. So making our present and future safe. So now this will lead to the main body part. So treating history as a teacher. Yes. So hence, what should be promoting? Promoted treating history as a teacher for humanity. Treating history as a teacher. Write down, many of today's problems can be solved by taking lessons from history. Many of today's problems can be solved by taking lessons from history. Taking lessons from history. Now let us see certain examples. Let us see certain examples. Let us see certain examples. For example, what we are seeing today, what is the current scenario? Decline of ethics in politics or criminalization of politics. So decline of ethics in politics. Let us see all these spheres of activities, what lessons we can get from history one by one. Yes. So let's start with politics itself. So decline of ethics in politics or criminalization of politics. So which lesson we can come forward with? Now, when we talk about Ashoka, yes, Ashoka after Battle of Kalinga, he brought code of ethics called Dhamma. Yes. And for Dhamma, yes, ethics, yes, he include both the subjects and even the king himself. Yes. So here, ethics applied both for the people and the king. Yes. So lesson, Ashoka adopted code of ethics called Dhamma to inculcate social responsibility. To inculcate social responsibility, and within it he covered, Ashoka adopted code of ethics called Dhamma, and to inculcate social responsibility, and within it he covered both the ruled and the ruler or the king. Both the ruler and the king. Now, let us take a recent example, whether this has come into our consciousness or not. Let us see an example. So, Supreme Court in 2018 advised to bring a bill to regulate political parties to reduce criminalization of politics. So let us see the consciousness. Have we got this? Have we got this? So the recent example, Supreme Court in 2018 advised to bring a bill to regulate political parties to reduce criminalization of politics. To reduce criminalization of politics. To reduce criminalization of politics. So in this session, what we are actually doing? We are doing philosophical topics, but we are utilizing your existing knowledge. Yes. Yes. So I am not talking about something very difficult or extraordinary which cannot be connected. The level playing field by UPSC for philosophical topics can only be achieved when you convert the philosophical topic into application. Okay. So now, decline of ethics in politics. Now let us see how to deal with economic justice, inequalities, concentration of wealth. Another example, if we are facing the issue of economic injustice, more inequalities and concentration of wealth. Economic injustice, inequalities, concentration of wealth. So concentration of wealth, yes. concentration of wealth has to be dealt with more corporate social responsibility. Yes. So here, so lessons Mahatma Gandhi emphasized on the concept of trusteeship. Yes. Mahatma Gandhi emphasized on the concept of trusteeship, which gave emphasis on corporate social responsibility. On concept of trusteeship, which emphasized on corporate social responsibility. So to counter concentration of wealth in the hand of the few or the 1%, let us ultimately broad base and implement CSR in totality. And to deal with economic injustice and inequalities, every year UPSC asks questions on what? Inclusive growth. The only way forward is, so we have to create an economy which is based on inclusive growth. Yes. Our history, yes, our history was filled with various economic injustice because land was confined only in the hand of male upper caste. Yes. When I talk about business or activities confined again in the hand of male belonging to a particular caste. So there was huge economic inequalities. Post independence, we came up with what? Abolition of princely states, abolition of zamindari, tenancy reforms, distribution of land. Yes. Now we are talking about, yes, entrepreneurship. The purpose is for democratize the business space. So here, learning from history will definitely be converted to what? Promoting more inclusive growth, dignified livelihoods, and better economic justice. So promote inclusive growth, dignified livelihoods. What is the meaning of dignified livelihoods? The meaning of dignified livelihoods is, previously in the past, the livelihoods were imposed on the basis of caste or gender. So now the meaning of dignified livelihoods is creating opportunities for the people who can break away from their caste and gender-based professions. So promote inclusive growth, dignified livelihoods, and better economic justice. And better economic justice. Note down a line below this, dignified livelihoods, write down. Dignified livelihoods mean, providing opportunities from breaking away from caste and gender-based occupations. Caste and gender-based occupations. That were imposed in the past. So there's a lesson in political arena. There's a lesson in what dealing with what economic injustice. Now the lesson for dealing social inequality, orthodoxy, lack of liberty, and attack on secularism. Yes. So the lesson on dealing with social inequality, orthodoxy, lack of liberty, attack on secularism. Attack on secularism. So what is the lesson? So what is the lesson we can get? Yes, from the history. So we all know Buddha attacked orthodoxy. Yes, there are various lessons we can bring. Bhakti reformers highlighted common ills in society. Bhakti reformers highlighted common ills in society. That may be talking against common superstitions or poor status of women or caste-based discriminations. Then Sufi preachers promoted syncretism. Yes. Amidst coexistence. Or Akbar promoted syncretism on the basis of deen and lie. a form of secularism. Even I've randomly picked up, yes, an empire that you may have read. Yes, Rashtrakutas had good relations with Arabs, appointed them as governors. Yes. Again, showing inclusive approach. Yes. Again, showing inclusive approach. So inclusive approach, giving space to everyone, understanding, creating better understanding about each other. Now, so social reformers of the 19th century fought rigidity and various discriminations. You can quote them. So social reformers in India fought rigidity and social discriminations. So here we are seeing that various state actors and non-state actors are involved. When you talk about Bhakti reformers, Sufi preachers, then social reformers, these are what? Non-state actors, the common people. When I talk about the kings, yes, dynasties, so here the state itself is involved. Yes, the state itself is involved in promoting what? More inclusive approach. So society becomes better when the common people also propagate inclusion, when the state also promotes inclusion. So Bhakti reformers, Sufi preachers, social reformers are non-state actors. When the king or the empire is involved, then definitely state actors. Now, even when we talk about our national movement, yes, so our national movement promoted all-inclusive participation. So it provided space to all religion, caste, class, gender, region for a common cause. Yes. So again, it emphasized on what? Inclusive approach, united effort. So a society achieves bigger results or bigger things when there is a inclusive approach and united approach. So this is a lesson that is required to be applied in today's society. Yes. Okay. There should not be exclusion but inclusion. There should not be more economic justice but social injustice but more justice. Yes, too much of communalism leads to partition. Yes, it can be applied either ways. So hence, that's why inclusive approach leads to what? More unity and integrity. That provides respect to each other, respect to the communities. Now, this is in social dimension. These are the learnings. Similarly, learnings in other areas. Environmental challenges. Yes, what we can learn from history. What we can learn from history. Environmental challenges. Now, so again, so what we can learn? See, environment challenges can be dealt with when the people together contribute in making the environment safe, clean, and combat climate change. The impacts of climate change. Now, when we talk about national movement, we mostly talk about the peaceful movements. Yes, we talk about peaceful movements. So the peaceful movements require what? The support from the people, and the support for the people will be coming from what? All sections and communities. So hence, we are talking about national movement means not what individual heroics, yes, but we are talking about the mass movement, which included peaceful protest, which included what? Different sections of the society. That I am talking about in terms of national movement. Clear? So environmental challenges, lesson, role of community in conservation. See, we can deal with environment issues only when the community is conscious and collectively taking actions. For example, let us see from Rig Veda period. Rig Veda emphasized on nature worship, where air, water, and trees were sacred. The focus was on involving the community partnership in conservation of nature. Okay, so hence consciousness about what was taking care of air, water, and trees, and this is a collective effort. The focus was on involving the community partnership in conservation of nature. Conservation of nature. Conservation of nature. Now, when you talk about drought proofing, yes. So we are facing water scarcity. We are facing water scarcity. So what our history tells us that there used to be what various types of rainwater harvesting systems. So now those rainwater harvesting systems are required to be revived and expanded. So drought proofing of the country. So when we read Niti Aayog, what future forecast is talking about drying up of India gradually. So the best way forward is, yes, rainwater harvesting systems, and here it requires community involvement. So for drought proofing, conservation of water, rainwater harvesting and storage systems were created in the past, for all the year round availability of water. Were created for the all the year round availability of water. Note down a line for the, these are required to be revived. These are required to be revived. These are required to be revived and expanded. These are required to be revived and expanded through involvement of communities. Through involvement of communities, especially in rural areas, by utilizing MGNREGA, which promotes community involvement, joint responsibility, and also triggers behavioral change. So again, for drought proofing of the country, we require community mobilization, maybe using a scheme, maybe using awareness methods. Yes. So that is the learning from the past. So the past, we had a system about drought proofing because we created n number of what methods of conservation of water. These are now required to be revived, and again by utilizing the power of the community. Now, even communities' role in conserving the forest was highlighted by Chipko movement. Yes, was highlighted by Chipko movement in Uttarakhand. Even communities' role in conserving the forest was highlighted by Chipko movement. Was highlighted by Chipko movement. Now, even recently, there was an example. If you remember, in Mumbai, they to create about metro shed. So they were trying to cut trees in RA forest. So people came forward, protested, and prevented. Even this happened in Delhi when there was a broadening of roads, certain trees were required to be cut. So people came forward and again prevented. Yes. So again, we require people mobilization consciousness. We should learning from our history. People's involvement is very important. Yes, Abhimanyu, reintroduction projects can also be taken. Yes, that we should be conserving our species. If they're extinct, also try to revive. Yes. So that is also a lesson. Good. So environment challenges. So what we are talking about, political systems, we are talking about economic systems, social systems, environment systems. Everywhere there are lessons from history. Let's see now. Revival of science and scientific temper. Yes. Revival of science and scientific temper. What we can learn from our history. So we know India is a land of what various legends, yes, like Varamihir, Aryabhatta, Charak, Jaisingh, Ramanuja the mathematician, C.V. Raman, etc. So we are a country of what? Various contributors in the field of science. So we are a land of various contributors in science. Yes, and we invented what? The Arabic numerals. Yes. So we have got a very rich history of what contributing towards the growth and development of science in the past. So Varamahir, Aryabhatta, Charak, yes, the surgeon, yes. Jaisingh, the astronomy expert. Zero, yes. Ashish, good. Ramanuja, C.V. Raman, etc. So we have got very rich history of contribution towards world's knowledge. Even we focused on what? Logic, yes. So when we read what various schools of philosophies in our country, yes. So even there are certain schools of philosophy, schools of logic, like Samkhya, Nyaya, Vaisheshika, yes. So there are various schools of logic. Samkhya, Nyaya, Vaisheshika. So what does this all indicate? That we have got a rich history of what? Yes, understanding. Yes, we believed in logic. We promoted science. That has to be again revived in today's conditions. More logic, more science, more scientific temper. Throughout our history, our buildings, architecture reflected knowledge of science, geometry, and material sciences. Even post-independence, the emphasis was on industrialization, opening of more R&D institutes, educational institutions of the top were done to promote scientific temper. So we have got very good legacy of promoting science. So what is the indication for today? Yes. Yes, the focus on science, scientific temper, promote more innovations, research and development, focus on research and development. Yes. That is simply invest in science. Yes. That is simply invest in science. That is our learning from the past. Carry forward the message. Carry forward the message. So what we are saying is we are learning from the good things of the past and we are trying to apply. We are also learning from the certain bad things in the social and economic terms, so which are required to be eliminated so that the society becomes a better place. Tragedies can be prevented or avoided. So this is the way we can learn from history. Even let us see other areas like international arenas. Yes, international arenas. So there are various lessons. Yes. For example, when we talk about the fascist regimes of Germany and Japan, yes. So Germany and Japan, when after tasting defeat in what the world wars, they completely cut away from the fascist phase and refocused their entire energies on what more positive development. So that was their learning, that we are not going to revive the same era of domination authoritarianism. So the examples can be Japan and Germany. Yes, learned lessons from their imperialist and violent pasts. Japan and Germany learned lessons from their imperialist and violent pasts, and hence they abandoned that phase of their history. And hence they abandoned that phase of their history and focused on new methods of development, and they emerged and they emerged as global economic powers. Yes. So they had learned their lessons and they did not repeat their lessons, what their the past wrongs, to prevent tragedies again in their respective countries. Now, similarly, when we talk about Europe, yes, so Europe was the basically the playground for world wars. Europe was the playground for various world wars. That Europe which saw world wars prevented future wars by creating more collaboration among the countries. Gave rise to European Union, Schengen area, borderless travel. Yes. So here, entire Europe learned from the world wars. Entire Europe learned from the world wars that wars are destructive for all. Entire Europe learned from the world wars that wars are destructive for all. So as a result, they avoided clashes, promoted collaboration, created a union, European Union, Schengen area, and hence bringing peace. So again, learned the art of coexistence, preventing wars, collaboration. Again, it's a learning lesson from the history. Now, again, what we are seeing today is when we talk about the issue of, so Europe learned from the world wars that wars are destructive for all. As a result, they avoided clashes, promoted collaboration, created European Union, Schengen area, and hence bringing peace. Now, when we talk about China and US, yes, they are again at loggerheads. So they need to revive the spirit of what? Ping pong diplomacy. Yes. They need to learn again from their past. Ping pong diplomacy. So to settle their disputes, they have to again revive the spirit of ping pong diplomacy. There's a lesson for them. Now, when you talk about India, yes, so we require a relook of NAM, yes, non-aligned movement. Now, why we require relook of NAM? See, India is usually dominated by China on various global forums, and there are certain organizations in which China is not there. For example, NAM. So China is not a member there, just an observer. So NAM is still comprising of more than 100 countries. So India can easily become the leader there. So we have to revive NAM, maybe in 21st century spirit, but definitely that can provide us a leadership position. So we want to relook at NAM. Now, on the other side, we require the seat in UN Security Council. The seat in UN Security Council will become more accessible when more countries are supporting our candidature in leadership. That will only be happening when we take leadership of certain organizations. Like NAM, we can become a leader, and even a country and even organization like Commonwealth. Yes, we can become a leader naturally. Now, even when we talk about India and China, yes, we have been having a dispute for last 65 years. But when we read entire history, ancient, medieval till modern age, there was no dispute between India and Chinese civilizations. It was mostly collaboration. So both India and China have to relook in the past, yes, where both the civilizations collaborated with each other in terms of knowledge sharing, in terms of exchange of travelers, in terms of trade, yes. So here, When we talk about India and China, better relations between India and China can be experimented. Better relations between India and China can be experimented considering the history of collaboration. Considering the history of collaboration between Indian and Chinese civilizations, throughout ancient, medieval, and modern times. Throughout ancient, medieval, and modern times. Through ancient, medieval, and modern times. Okay, so again, the lesson is there in the past that we were never enemies, we were mostly collaborators. Let us now revive that spirit and move gradually towards more collaboration rather than conflict. Okay. So lesson in history. Now, strengthening and reforming global institutions like United Nations require, yes, United Nations require what? Again, reforms. UNSC requires reforms. More countries should be there. So as to what, create more democratized world, reduce the hold of certain superpowers. So strengthening and reforming global institutions to prevent new Cold War, concentration of power, and authoritarianism. So what we know that there are n number of lessons in the history, provided we treat history as a teacher and we learn from it. I hope you got the entire topic. Yes. Okay. Now this can be leading us to a very sound conclusion. Let us write a conclusion for this also, so that you get a complete essay, at least one essay complete. So the conclusion, on the basis of above, yes, when you explained all these, on the basis of above, it is amply clear that history is always, relevant in understanding and shaping, the current and future requirements, shaping the current and future requirements. This can be promoted by ushering in analytical assessment and rational understanding of the past and its relevance today. The beginning can be done by influencing young and nurturing minds, in schools and colleges, and by giving due weightage to teaching of history, more logically, so that students are able to deduce both the positives and negatives. Deduce both the positives and negatives and hence sensitized. And hence sensitized. And hence sensitized. So where the start has to be done? What seriously, what rationally teaching history in what education institutions first. So finally, in a nutshell, the day history is taken seriously. In a nutshell, the day history is taken seriously, taught proactively, and delivered in the manner of connecting the past with the present and the future. Connecting the past with the present and the future in the educational institutions then it can usher in thinking revolution. Thinking revolution. Thinking revolution. Full stop. It can further promote more rational, the larger impact on society now we are talking about. It can further promote more rational, democratic, egalitarian, and all inclusive mindsets. And all inclusive mindsets and thus preventing human-made miseries and tragedies. And thus preventing human-made miseries and tragedies. And also making our future safe. And also making our future safe. And also making our future safe. I hope you got the complete essay. Yes. Okay. So that means what we came to know, that history is a teacher. We have to take it very seriously. We have to promote it very seriously in terms of what educational institutions. So as to shape or prepare the society, prevent mistakes again, tragedies again, make the society a better place, a peaceful place. So history is a teacher, but we only take history seriously when we prepare for UPSC. Yes. So that's really a tragedy. Yes. Okay. So yes, let's take one more topic. Time is almost over, but let's take one more topic so that at least 4 topics are done, so that you can practice them and relate them. So this is also very interesting. The process of self-discovery. The process of self-discovery. The process of self-discovery has now been technologically outsourced. The process of self-discovery has now been technologically outsourced. Okay. Okay, the topics that will be remaining with the new batches will be discussed in the classes. Yes. Okay. And you can also personally take a guidance with me. I will be sharing my email ID. Yes. Okay, so you have my email ID, or maybe you may be having my number, so you can personally take a guidance. Yes. Okay. So now here, but at least let's do this topic also. So now when we talk about the process of self-discovery is knowing about oneself. Yes. Knowing about oneself knowing about one's character. That means getting insight into what one's character is self-discovery. So it is what about character building. So how we what build character in societies? We build character in society, but with more intermingling. Yes, because we know man is a social animal. We learn when we interact with the society. But now what has happened due to what COVID and what lockdowns? So community interaction has reduced. Yes, and people are confined to more technology. And when we talk about technology, technology can also bring what various awareness, but it also can distract, can take the people to wrong destinations also. So here, so technology can be an unguided missile also. So means rational use of technology, it also requires what a hand holding, how to self-discover, but that requires a guidance method to properly use technology. So here, this topic is talking about two things. First is how to promote self-discovery by again strengthening community interactions, and how to use technology as an enabler to again help in what self-discovery, rather than just people doing a self-discovery on their own by using technology, which can be very disastrous. Okay, so let us see now this topic. So meaning of self-discovery first. So the meaning of self-discovery. So note down, self-discovery is the process of acquiring self-discovery is the process of acquiring insight into one's character. Insight into one's character. Insight into one's character. So it's basically a process of getting insight, means learning about oneself. Who am I actually? Yes. Self-discovery is one in which a person is guided. Self-discovery is one in which a person is guided, through self-questioning. Yes. Guided through self-questioning, an examination of one's own thoughts, words, and actions. Examination of one's own thoughts, words, and actions in order to reach his or her own conclusions. In order to reach his or her own conclusions regarding who they truly are. Regarding who they truly are. Regarding who they truly are. That is basically analyzing, self-questioning, observing about oneself, what are thoughts, what are actions, what are our words. Yes. So basically knowing about oneself, evolving ourselves by self-thinking. Yes. So in simple, able to know about oneself. Yes. In simple, it is able to know about oneself. In simple, it is able to know about oneself. Now, self-discovery happens due to socialization. When we make friends, when we go to schools, physical spaces, community spaces, interactions in the society, we learn n number of things. So self-discovery happens due to socialization. Because there's a quote, man is by nature a social animal. Man is by nature a social animal. Man is by nature a social animal. So hence we learn and discover ourselves. We learn and discover ourselves more through socializing, than just through technology. So examples, yes. Examples, let's take certain examples. Now, for example, for the children, which are the best space for socialization and self-observation? Schools. Okay, the schools. So note down, schools are institutions of self-discovery, where children learn to handle themselves, yes, carry themselves first. Yes, they start socializing, they start interacting, sharing, even fighting. They learn teamwork. Do they share their secrets? Yes, okay. They take guidance. Okay, so everything is happening. They are learning n number of things. Okay, so schools are institutions for self-discovery, but due to COVID, closure of schools, and over reliance on online tools has led to outsourcing of self discovery to online mediums. Hence holistic nurturing, yes, hence holistic nurturing grooming is negatively impacted, yes. So technology can be an enabler, but not a replacement of what? Physical interactions. Yes. So hence holistic nurturing, grooming is negatively impacted. So technology can be an enabler. Technology can be an enabler, but not a replacement of community social interaction. But not a replacement of what? Community social interaction based cognitive development. But not a replacement of what? Community or social interaction based cognitive development. Now let's take one more example. Yes, one more negative example. Recently, you may have heard about, yes, bully by app. Yes, where the youngster was completely cut away from the society, was not interacting, just engrossed only in what online connections led to the wrong destination. Yes. Okay, so here the example can be quoted easily. Bully by app, the accused was disconnected from society. The accused were disconnected from society, engrossed in online world, and which led him to wrong destination. So whatever he was doing, he was not cross-checking. He was not self-questioning himself. There was no self-discovery. Yes, there was no self-discovery of the character. So the accused was disconnected from society, engrossed in online world, and led him to wrong destination. But this is just a glimpse of larger communication gap. Yes. So this is just a glimpse of larger communication gap. This is just a glimpse of larger communication gap. Communication interactions declined due to lockdowns. Community interactions declined due to lockdowns. led to more reliance on technology for finding solace, yes, and self-discovery, which mostly went in the wrong direction, led to more reliance on technology for solace and self-discovery. See, but the reality is that the technology is everywhere. We cannot escape technology. So we have to again find a balance. Yes. So let us how to create a balance in such a manner that the community interaction is also shaped properly and the technology is also utilized more responsibly. Yes. Let's create a balance so that self-discovery becomes better both in either way, community interaction as well as what technology interface. Yes. So let's create a balance now. So solution. So the topic demands first promoting community bonding for better self-discovery, rejuvenation of community interactions, occupying community spaces, promoting community bonding for better self-discovery, for better self-discovery. For better self-discovery. Now, again, you can use this quote. The best way to find yourself, the best way to find yourself is to lose yourself in the service of others. The best way to find yourself is to lose yourself in the service of others. So again, it is hinting towards what? More community involvement. Yes. So again, it is hinting towards more community involvement. The best way to find yourself is to lose yourself in the service of others. And second thing that is required for this topic is positive utilization of technology as an enabler. Positive utilization of technology as an enabler. Positive utilization of technology as an enabler. I hope this is very clear, these two. Yes. So let us talk about how to promote better community interactions first. Then we'll talk about how to utilize technology in a better way. Yes. So let us start first of all with community-based interactions. How to promote better community-based interactions and self-discovery. Community-based interactions and self-discovery. Okay, so if you are if you have attended all my classes, I've given you enormous hints. Yes. First was I was talking about activity-based learnings in schools. Okay, the first way of what self-discovery is values through activity-based learning, as highlighted by National Education Policy 2020. Activity-based learning, values through activity-based learning. Then we talked about what? A healthy sporting culture in the society for what? Self-realization, self-discovery. So sporting culture. So culture of competitive sports at all the levels with proper calendar of sports. Sporting culture with a culture of competitive sports at all the levels with proper calendar of sports. With proper calendar of sports. Culture of music we talked about, where we talked about cultural centers are required. So again, culture of music, yes. Now the purpose is to ultimately create what? What vibrant community spaces, places for interaction, active citizenship. And even I give you an example about European Center for Cultural Forum. Yes. So active cultural spaces. I give you example about SUBW, socially useful productive work, where student interns working in the communities. So community internships, even Professor Yashpal committee mentioned this, making community internships compulsory across all the streams of study. Socially useful productive work. Thank you, Gagan. Yes. Okay. So socially useful productive work. So here we talked about community internships. Yes. Professor Yashpal committee mentioned that all the streams of study should have what? Community internships for interaction with the community and learning about oneself. Community radio, yes, again, a method of what? Bringing local issues, local knowledge, problem solving platforms. Role of influencers in society. So we have to identify suitable influencers so that people can be connected. Role of influencers. So we are talking about that everywhere there are different people who are working good in different areas of society. They can easily become influencers for guiding others. So they again require a platform. I told you the matter about connecting them through again a platform. So role of influencers. Cadre of counselors are required. Yes. So we lack counselors in our system. So cadre of counselors. I hope you can explain these very easily in terms of promoting community interactions. Yes. Now let us see how technology can be used in a more better manner. Yes. Now technology as enabler. Yes. Technology as enabler. Technology as enabler. So first of all, what the people lack in our country? Basic internet and social media literacy. They do not know how to properly handle and utilize. So we require awareness campaigns. So note down right usage. So awareness campaigns for internet and social media literacy. So what first of all is awareness campaigns for internet and social media literacy. Internet and social media literacy. Now, another thing that we need to talk about is we know a thing called Digital India. Now, Digital India, BharatNet now reaching each and every village. Now, when the internet reach has been expanded, internet has now become cost effective also in larger areas. So the best way of what now connecting with the students can be in the form of utilizing the power of Digital India. Now, what the Digital India can connect with, yes, rural India, urban India. There are different methods of teaching, and various methods of teaching can be, we can filter various things like informative documentaries, videos, movies, animation films, content, and can be connected with school children and college going students very easily as the medium for what? Learning, self observations. Okay. So here the next thing can be utilizing the power of Digital India, use of Digital India and its reach. So use of Digital India and its reach. That is creating directory of self-discovery content. Creating directory of self-discovery content. proper directory, yes, as per the age bracket, as per the age bracket, and connecting with students, and connecting with students in educational institutions. This can include inspirational movies, documentaries, series, animation films, recorded or live lectures, activities, etc. So if we cannot escape technology, so let us convert that into a medium of what benefit. And that medium benefit can be when we also guide how to utilize it. And for guidance, when the person is going to get information from the technology medium, they should be getting, yes, a proper directory also to get information from which sources, which can be beneficial for them. So that is a way we can ultimately utilize in a better way. Similarly, directory of work specific content. So different areas of work, the institutions can promote this. Institutions can promote this. A tool for self-discovery, content, the best practices. So the best practices can be converted into a proper directory and can be linked for self-discovery. Links with best practices. And lastly, yes, there's also responsibility of social media platforms. Responsibility of social media platforms to prevent their mediums misuse. To prevent their mediums misuse, so that people get exposed to more constructive content. Constructive content. And again, how the social media platforms can contribute. I discussed this in class when I discussed social media reforms. I discussed this in the class when I discussed social media reforms in IEC, information, education, and communication. So by applying what community interactions and ultimately what promoting a method of what utilizing technology as an enablers for better guidance, we can promote self-discovery in either way, community interactions and as well as technology. I hope topics clear. Clear. So now, what we can do is, as the time is already over, it's over stressed now. Yes. So I hope, but you would have enjoyed the session. You have liked the session. Okay. First of all, let me stop this share.